Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sanders and this is Watch Art Side, the art and science of watch collection. Today what we're going to do is we're going to finish up our, what we're calling the Breguet Nouveau, or the faux Breguet. It's got an enamel dial, it has Breguet numbers, Breguet hands. So anyway, and it costs about, I think, 87 bucks is what we paid for all the different parts that we used to put this together with. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do now, sort of rewinding here, the last thing you did, or last thing we talked about doing, was putting on the hands. And this can be tricky sometimes. Once the hands are on, that's fine, that's great. But sometimes, and believe me, I had a lot of problem with this, sometimes they'll bump into each other. Now, part of this can be because spacing between the hands and the shafts that come out that the hands go on weren't quite the right size. The second hand has to go down as far as it will go, and then it has to be flat. Then the hour hand has to go over the gearing that they have for the hour hand that comes out. Now, with enamel, it's a little thicker. Enamel is, and so you may not have the same amount, and so the hour hand and minute hand may be closer. So the thing to do is, wind it up and make sure things don't bump into each other. I did that and had to make a lot of adjustments. So once you're sure that the hands are working well, the next thing that you're going to have to do is you're going to have to get it in a case. And the very first thing you need to do to get it into the case is you're going to have to remove the stem and the crown. Now, on the case, there's a little crown that comes with it, at least the one that we use for this project did. Most of them do, and they have a crown that's a little nicer than the one that's sort of the default crown. Now, to do that, you use your little red tip screwdriver, and right above, what's going on? Right above here, right below where the stem goes in, there's this little screw. And you turn the screw, about a half turn counterclockwise. You have to be careful here because you want to unscrew it enough so that you can remove the stem, but you want to do it too much, otherwise some of the parts in the keyless works are going to fall out, and then you're in real trouble. So the idea is turn it about a half turn, half of a complete turn, and then gently pull on the stem. And if it's tight, it's not coming, do it in a little more, and then try again until it just slides right out. Don't force it. All right, that's not going to help you at all. Okay, so once the stem is out, now right now this stem has the what I'll call it a fault uh, crown on it, and what you'll need is a pair of pliers to hold it, or or what's called a hand vise to hold it, and then unscrew it, and then screw on the new one. We'll do that in a bit. Okay, so this is what it should look like. Now, once you have the stem out, what you can then do is that you can then put it into the case. Now, when you put it into the case, you have to unscrew the back. Now, I use what's called a friction ball. And the friction ball, I like using a friction ball as opposed to other kinds of devices, is because the friction ball isn't going to scratch anything. You can get these on Amazon or just about anywhere, and you push it up against here and just turn it counterclockwise to unscrew it and open it up. And then once it's totally unscrewed, you can then remove it. One thing I found, these wooden tweezers, they're also very good for not scratching the metal. you can sort of lift it off the top with these if you have them. If not, just do it carefully, and maybe have one of your polishing cloths to hold it with, or of course you want to have your finger cots on too, so that when you handle it on you want to put them on your, what I'll call the offhand. If you're left-handed, the right hand is the offhand, and vice versa if you're right-handed. Okay, now on the back, when you look at it from the back, the crown is really at 3 o'clock, even though it looks like from your point of view, if it's correctly from the back, it looks like it's at 9 o'clock because it's the opposite of where you'd see it. But it's on the back. It's really, this is where your 3 o'clock is. And why is that important? Because you're going to be putting your movement in here, and where the stem goes is going to have to be at 3 o'clock. And so remember, you've taken the stem out now, and you want to put it back in. So you have to align the hole for the stem with 3 o'clock. You can sort of see it here. Here's the stem, and here's 3 o'clock. Okay. Another thing too, if you can, try to use, they have these green pads like you can see up there. And the green pads they're non-magnetic workplaces. They're really good to have. Mine is really messed up, but thanks to Photoshop, I clean it up. Okay, now moving right along. All right, now you want to put your stem back in, and just hold on for a second, but you want to put it in, and what you have to do is probably one of the most difficult parts of the whole watchmaking thing. You have to set these clamps, and you can see where they're located, and one of them is located to the, let me see if I can see here. One of them is located down here, and then the other is right, you can see the balance wheel, and then it's right up in that little curve of the balance, where the balance wheel is, and it's on what you might say a lower deck. You have a plate up here, and then you have sort of a step down from it, and in that step down there's a little hole. And so then you take the screw, you put the clamp in, and then you put the screw in the hole for it. This can be tricky. It took me a long time to do it. I finally got it done. As soon as I got it done, I realized I had a problem with the hands and had to take it all apart and do it all over again. Okay, so that is simply something that's going to take patience and time. A couple tricks. What I did is that using this is where you'll be using the purple necked screwdriver, or the purple top, the pins. This is okay. What will help? This is what I did, is that I put a little Rodico putty right on the tip here, and then over it, and then I put the head of the screw on the screwdriver here, and then I was able to put it straight down into the hole. So you put the clamp in with the bent part aiming down, and then you take the screw that's on the tip here, and you put it right down in the hole and screw and hope to get it. This is not fun. If you're good at it, you're lucky, you can do it right away. The first time it'll work fine. Not, you have to do it several times. It takes patience. Don't try to rush this process. If you do it and you get frustrated with it, just stop and, I don't know, go watch a movie or something. But it just takes patience and time, but you can do it. There's another kind of screw that you can also do this with, and they have a collar around them. And so you put that in there and you turn it. That's a lot easier. But again, you'd be using the purple screwdriver and a little Rodico putty along with it. Okay. So now once you have that down, now the important thing is while you're doing this, you want to have your stem in. Okay, so before you start this, put your stem in, and then tighten it up, turn it clockwise, that little screw, turn it until it, don't force it, but turn it until it stops. And that means you got you're at the right place. And then you can pull out the stem, set the time, push it back in again, you're all set. And then of course you can wind it too. All right. Okay, now then, once you have that done, the next thing you have to do, it's not that difficult, but it can be very nerve-wracking. What you need is a couple things here. For removing the crown from the stem and putting a new one on, I just hold the stem and then unscrew the crown from it, and then screw the new one on. The problem is that all of these stems are too long for your watch, depending on the kind you have. Some take a really long stem if you have a little movement inside of a larger case. So here's a stem, and you just hold the old stem like this. See, there's a little square thing at the bottom. Don't hold it by that. Hold it just by the part here, and then just unscrew this there. Right now, in order to figure out, okay, how much should you trim it? What you do is you measure it from the base of the watch, okay, from right down here to right where the crown begins. Okay, you can see it there. Sort of the base of the crown to the base of the top of the watch. Now, you can use a metric ruler, or you can use electronic calipers. Using electronic calipers, I found, can be fairly awkward because when you pull it out, it bumps into the case, and so you got to turn it and so forth. The good thing about a caliper, it'll give you a very precise number, but it's very awkward. You can double check it with using just a regular millimeter ruler, and then compare it with what you have found with your caliper. If you don't have a caliper, then you could just use your ruler. Okay, so once you do that, and this is the part that is scary. Now, you're not going to have the crown on here. This is just for demonstration purposes. You need some good, strong, these are, I guess they're sort of wire cutters is what you'd call them. These is a very thick one. In fact, they're like stem cutters. You measure to the point where you want to cut it, and then you make it just a little longer, not much. Then you cut it, and then you take the crown off, and you have to get it all cleaned up. Once you make the cut, you have to, when you cut it, there's all these little shards and pieces of metal at the tip of your stem up here at the top, and in order for the crown to go on, you have to smooth it out. Now, I've got pictured there. I got this sort of, I guess it's sort of like a type of rock, and then I have a series of different files and so forth, and I use them all to just sort of, to get rid of that. Now, hang on a second here. This guy, let me see if I can take this stem off and show you what you need to do. Here it comes. Okay, now it's got the stem off. And so what you do is that you can then cut, and then you put, before you put the stem back on, you have to sort of take the rough edges out of it, and using a file or a sort of one of a smoothing stone, you can get it ready, and then you just put it back on again. And remember, you want to put on the new one. You can see there in the picture that I have the one that came on that came on it. And then you just put the old crown back on, and you can hold it, and so that you can put it there. You go. You saw it nice and tight now. Okay, and you do that until you get it to where you want it. I got mine. I could probably use a couple millimeters more to cut off, but I'm too chicken. So it's pretty close, but not perfect. Okay, so the final thing you want to do, okay, you have the back is all clamped in, the stem has been trimmed and so forth. You have to have the back off because you're going to have to remember unscrew that little screw here, then pull it out, and then clip it, and then file it, and then you have to put it back in again, tighten it up. The big thing to remember is that when you turn this little screw that holds the stem in, don't undo it too much. When you turn it counterclockwise, so you can pull the stem out, just do it a little at a time, and as soon as it's enough to pull it out, don't do it anymore. Okay, so now you got all of that. Everything's trimmed. The stem and crown are the way you want it, or the way the way you'll settle for it. In my case, you take your friction ball. Again, the reason for using a friction ball is that prevents scratching. You don't want to scratch it up. It's so easy to scratch it up. They have those things that there's for this kind of thing, they have these, they have things like this. Boy, I tell you though, you can scratch up the back of a watch with that thing. The only reason I use this is that if it's on really tight, I can't get it with a friction ball. I just so that it loosens enough so I can use a friction ball. But by and large, try to do it with a friction ball. Now, the other thing, this is one thing that I know it may sound sort of, I don't know, a little strange, but you always want the buckle side or the buckle half of your strap at 12 o'clock, okay? That's true with every watch. If it's got a 12 o'clock, it's got a buckle. With deployant straps, you want to have the one that would be the buckle part of it, and then the part where you adjust down here, the adjustment side of it, you have down at 6 o'clock. It's not hard to remember, but you'd be surprised how often people forget that. And if you're working from the back, sometimes, or you forgot which one's 12 o'clock and which one's 6 o'clock. Just be sure to check before you put it on. Okay, now in putting the straps on, what I did is that I got these things that are called quick release straps, and they have a little thing here, and you can just take your thumb and push it and it'll come right out. Easiest way to put on straps. Now, if you don't have a quick release straps, and most people don't, you're going to have to use your spring bar tool. Now, when you're putting a strap on, you use the pointed end of your spring bar tool. You don't use the fork end, you use the pointed end, and you take the point and then you just push the tip of the spring bar so that it's past the lug, and then you push it in, and then you sort of have to squeegee it around. This again is why, if you don't want to have these ugly looking lugs that have scratches all over it, work from the back, because otherwise you'll see the scratches on the front. And then once you get it on and you got everything all together, you're all done. That's the whole project. And here it is. I put it on. So it's a completed Breguet Nouveau. It's got the enamel dial, the Breguet hands, the Breguet numbers. Should look just like a watch costing thousands of dollars more. $87, I think, is what we paid for everything but the strap. By the way, these straps I really like. I was surprised. I had them by a company called Pointy. This is the company that makes them. I got these on Amazon, and I sort of like the stitching instead. I had on some really nice black gator straps, but I thought, oh, these actually I like these better for a number of reasons. One, they have the quick release buttons on it, and I can just take it off and put on another strap if I want. Anyway, well, listen, I hope your project is coming along or you finished up. And remember, the trick is be patient. And if you're getting flustered by something, quit, put it away, and bring it out another day. I did that for several days. If you wonder why it took me so long to get to this video, that's why. Anyway, let me know what you think about our Breguet Nouveau, and let me know if you'd like to. Maybe we could do another watch project at some other time. Take care. Oh, by the way, too, this is an opportunity to subscribe to Watch Art Sci if you'd like.